The train journey from Pont-Orson to Nice took most of the day, winding through the heart of France before finally descending toward the Mediterranean coast. With each kilometer south, the landscape changed, from the gray skies and cool air of Normandy to the warm, sun-drenched beauty of the Côte d'Azur. Mariana slept for much of the journey, her head resting on my shoulder, and I was content just to watch her breathe, to feel the weight of her against me, to know that she was here and real and that I hadn't drowned in those cold tidal waters. Mont Saint-Michel had been a wake-up call in the most literal sense. Life is fragile. Time is precious. And when you find someone worth holding on to, you don't waste another moment. When Mariana woke as we approached Nice, she stretched like a cat and smiled at me with those dark eyes that had haunted my dreams since Portugal. "Are we almost there?" she asked. "Almost. Maybe 30 minutes." She looked out the window at the changing landscape, the red-tiled roofs, the palm trees, the brilliant blue of the Mediterranean appearing in glimpses between buildings. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "I've never been to the French Riviera." "Me neither. We'll discover it together." She squeezed my hand, and something passed between us. An understanding, a promise, an acknowledgement of what we both knew was coming. Soon, very soon, Nice welcomed us with sunshine and warmth that felt like a blessing after the cold waters of Mont Saint-Michel. We emerged from the train station into brilliant afternoon light, and I felt something in my chest loosen. Relief, joy, anticipation. We found a small hotel just a few blocks from the Promenade d'Anglais, Nice's famous waterfront walkway. The room was simple but charming, with blue shutters and a balcony that looked out toward the sea. And this time, without discussion, without hesitation, we took a room with one bed. "Is this okay?" I asked as we set down our bags. Mariana came close to me, close enough that I could smell the jasmine scent of her hair. "Peter, I almost lost you 2 days ago. I'm done pretending we're just travel companions. I'm done sleeping in separate beds and maintaining polite distance. We don't have to do anything but sleep, but I want to fall asleep next to you and wake up next to you. Is that okay with you?" I answered by pulling her into my arms and holding her close. "That's more than okay." We spent the rest of that first day doing absolutely nothing. We were both exhausted, physically from the travel, emotionally from Mont Saint-Michel, mentally from the intensity of everything that had happened. We napped together in the afternoon, woke up as the sun was setting, went out for a simple dinner of pasta and local wine at a neighborhood trattoria, then returned to the room and fell asleep early, tangled together in that easy intimacy of people who fit. The next morning, I woke to find Mariana already awake, sitting on the balcony in one of my t-shirts, drinking coffee and watching the city wake up below us. The morning light made her look almost ethereal, and I thought, not for the first time, about how impossibly lucky I was. "Morning," I said, joining her on the balcony. She smiled. "Morning. I got us coffee from the cafe downstairs. Yours is on the table." "You're an angel." "I know." We spent the morning exploring Nice's famous promenade, the Promenade d'Anglais that curves along the bay for miles. The beach is made of smooth stones rather than sand, and the water is that impossible Mediterranean blue that doesn't seem real. We rented lounge chairs and spent hours just being still, reading, dozing, watching people, soaking in the warmth after the cold of northern France. "I could get used to this," Mariana said, lying back with her eyes closed. "Just existing. No plans, no schedule, no obligations. That's what this whole trip has been about," I said. "Learning to just be." "Are you getting better at it?" I thought about that. I think so. When I left Chicago, I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes without feeling anxious about wasting time. Now I can spend a whole day on a beach and feel like I've accomplished something. "What have you accomplished?" "Being present, being happy, being with you." She opened her eyes and turned to look at me, and there was such warmth in her gaze that it took my breath away. "I like being with you too, Peter Matthews." That afternoon, we wandered into View Nice, Old Nice, the historic heart of the city. It's a maze of narrow streets and tall buildings painted in shades of yellow, orange, and red. Laundry hangs between windows. Small shops sell everything from flowers to olive oil to handmade soaps. Restaurants spill onto tiny squares where old men play boules and argue about politics. It felt alive in a way that some historic districts don't. Not a museum piece preserved for tourists, but a real neighborhood where real people lived real lives that just happened to unfold in buildings that were 300 years old. We stopped at a market and bought fresh strawberries, cheese, bread. We ate lunch at a tiny restaurant where the menu was handwritten and the owner served us himself, recommending dishes in rapid French that Mariana translated. We had saka, a thin chickpea flour pancake that's a nice specialty, and pissaladière, a kind of onion tart topped with anchovies and olives. We shared a carafe of local rose wine that tasted like sunshine in summer. Every moment felt charged with possibility. Every time our hands touched, every time our eyes met, I felt that pull stronger now, more urgent. We'd admitted we were falling for each other. We'd committed to being together, to sharing a bed, to seeing where this went. But we still hadn't kissed. Part of me wanted to just grab her right there in the restaurant and kiss her senseless. But another part, the part that was learning to be patient, to be present, to let moments unfold naturally, knew that when it happened, it needed to be right, perfect, a moment we'd remember for the rest of our lives. After lunch, we continued wandering through View Nice, following no particular route, just exploring wherever our feet took us. We found a square where musicians were playing jazz, and we stopped to listen for a while, swaying together to the music. We found a bookstore crammed with French literature and old maps, and spent half an hour browsing in comfortable silence. We found a tiny church tucked into a corner, and went inside just to escape the heat and sit in the cool dimness for a few minutes. And then, in a particularly narrow alley that smelled of flowers and old stone, Mariana stopped suddenly. "Peter, look." I followed her gaze to a door, wooden, painted a faded green, half hidden behind cascading ivy. It was the kind of door that looked like it led nowhere, like it had been forgotten by time and the city growing around it. "What about it?" I asked. "Don't you want to know what's behind it? It's probably just someone's house, or storage or something." But Mariana was already walking toward it, that mischievous smile on her face that I'd come to recognize as her "let's find out" expression. She reached for the old iron handle and turned it. The door opened. "Mariana, we probably shouldn't. Where's your sense of adventure?" she called back, already stepping through. "Come on." I followed, because of course I did. I would have followed her anywhere. Behind the door was a stone staircase, narrow and steep, climbing up through what must have been the space between buildings. Sunlight filtered down from above, and I could smell something floral, jasmine maybe, or honeysuckle. We climbed in silence, the stairs going up and up, turning at odd angles. I lost count of the steps. My legs were burning by the time we finally emerged at the top. And when we did, we both stopped, speechless. We'd found a garden. Not just any garden. A secret world hidden in the heart of the city, forgotten or abandoned by whoever had once tended it. A stone terrace carved into the hillside, surrounded by ancient walls covered in climbing roses and jasmine. Wild lavender grew in clumps between cracked paving stones. A fountain in the center, its basin green with moss and filled with rainwater, still somehow working. A thin stream of water trickling from the mouth of a stone lion. Tall cypress trees provided shade at the edges. And the view. Oh God, the view. The garden was high enough that we could see over the rooftops of View Nice, all the way to the promenade and the Mediterranean beyond. The sea stretched to the horizon, that impossible blue, sparkling in the afternoon sun. To our right, the hill of Chateau rose with its park and ruins. To our left, the curve of the bay. And ahead, infinity. "Peter," Mariana whispered, as if speaking too loudly might break the spell. "This is magic," I finished. "This is magic." We walked through the garden slowly, almost reverently. Everything was overgrown but still beautiful, nature reclaiming what humans had shaped but not destroying it, just softening it, making it wild and perfect. Bees moved lazily between lavender flowers. A lizard sunned itself on a warm stone. Somewhere nearby, a bird sang. "How is this here?" Mariana wondered. "In the middle of the city? How has no one found this?" Maybe people have. Maybe it's just that they keep it secret. Pass it along quietly to people who will appreciate it. We found a stone bench at the far edge of the garden, positioned perfectly to face the sea. It was worn smooth by time and weather, and when we sat down, it felt like it had been waiting for us. The sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon, still hours from setting but already turning the light golden and warm. Mariana sat close to me, our thighs touching, her head tilting to rest against my shoulder. "This feels like a place out of time," she said softly. "Like we could stay here forever and the rest of the world would just fade away. Would that be so bad?" She was quiet for a moment. "No, not if I was with you." I turned to look at her and found her already looking at me. Her dark eyes held something I hadn't seen before. Not just affection or attraction, but something deeper. Certainty, maybe, or surrender, or both. "Mariana, don't," she interrupted gently. "Don't plan it. Don't think about it. Just, if you're gonna kiss me, do it because you can't not kiss me anymore. Do it because this moment, this place, this feeling is too perfect not to." And she was right. I'd been trying to find the perfect words, the perfect moment, the perfect way to do this. But the truth was simple. I couldn't not kiss her anymore, so I didn't say anything else. I just cupped her face gently with one hand, letting my thumb trace the line of her cheekbone, seeing my own feelings reflected in her eyes. And then I leaned in and kissed her. Her lips were soft and warm and tasted like strawberries and wine in summer. She made a small sound, surprise or relief or joy, I couldn't tell, and her hand came up to tangle in my hair, pulling me closer. The kiss started gentle, almost tentative, as if we were both still half afraid this wasn't real. But then it deepened, became more urgent, weeks of waiting and wanting finally released. Her other hand grabbed the front of my shirt, and I wrapped my arm around her waist, pulling her as close as I could get her. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together, unable to stop smiling. "That was," I started. "Perfect," she finished. "That was perfect." I was going to say worth the wait, but perfect works too. She laughed, that beautiful sound I'd grown to love, and kissed me again. Shorter this time, sweeter, but no less meaningful. "I've been wanting to do that since Portugal," I admitted. "I've been wanting you to do that since Portugal," she countered. "Why did we wait so long?" "Because we wanted it to be right. And it was, wasn't it? It was exactly right. It really was." We sat there on that stone bench as the sun slowly descended toward the sea, kissing and talking and laughing and being silent together. At some point, Mariana shifted to sit sideways on the bench, her back against my chest, my arms wrapped around her. Both of us watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink and orange. "Tell me something," she said. "Something real. Something you don't tell many people." I thought about that. I was engaged once, 5 years ago before Chicago. Her name was Rachel. We'd been together since college. Everyone expected us to get married, our families, our friends, us. But the closer we got to the wedding, the more I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't excited. I was going through the motions because it was what you were supposed to do. 3 weeks before the wedding, I broke it off. Everyone was furious with me. My parents didn't speak to me for a year. Rachel's family, well, they hated me. Still do, probably. Do you regret it? Not for a second. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done at that point in my life, but it was also the first really honest thing I'd done. I wasn't in love with her, not really. I loved the idea of her, the stability she represented, the life we were supposed to have. But I didn't love her the way you should love someone you're planning to spend your life with. Mariana was quiet for a moment. "What changed? What made you realize?" One day, about a month before the wedding, I was driving home from work and I had this moment of absolute clarity. I realized that if I went through with the wedding, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what else was out there, what I'd missed, who I could have been, and I couldn't do that to her or to myself. That took courage, or cowardice, depending on who you ask. "No," Mariana said firmly, turning to look at me. "Courage. It's easy to go along with what everyone expects. It's hard to disappoint people and face their anger and judgment because you're being honest about what you really want. That's courage. I kissed the top of her head. Your turn. Tell me something real. She took a breath. When I was 23, I had a breakdown. A real one. I just graduated with my art history degree, and everyone expected me to come home to Sao Paulo and get a job at a museum or gallery there. My parents had already arranged interviews for me, but I couldn't do it. The thought of going back, of falling into the life everyone had planned for me, made me feel like I was suffocating. So I had a complete meltdown. Panic attacks, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. It got bad enough that my parents were worried I'd hurt myself. I tightened my arms around her, feeling the echo of that pain in her voice. They sent me to a therapist, and she asked me one question that changed everything. What do you want? Not what my parents wanted, not what would make sense financially, not what would look good to other people. What did I want? And when I really thought about it, the answer was simple. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the art and architecture and history I'd spent 4 years studying. I wanted adventure and uncertainty and the freedom to figure out who I was without everyone telling me who I should be. So you did it. So I did it. I told my parents I was taking a year off before starting my career. They were horrified. They said I was being irresponsible and childish. But they couldn't stop me. I bought a plane ticket to Europe with money I'd saved from summer jobs, and I left. That was 15 months ago. Do you regret it? She turned to face me fully, her eyes bright with emotion. Peter, if I hadn't done it, I never would have been in that cafe in Porto. I never would have met you. So no, I don't regret a single moment of it. I kissed her then, because what could I say that would be more meaningful than that? We stayed in the garden until the sun touched the horizon and the light turned that particular shade of blue that only exists for a few minutes between day and night. The jasmine scent grew stronger as the air cooled. The city sounds from below seemed to fade into background noise. We should probably go, Mariana said reluctantly. Someone might lock that door and we'll be stuck here all night. Would that be so terrible? She laughed. Ask me that again when we're hungry and have no bathroom. We made our way back down the stone staircase through the green door, which we closed carefully behind us, and back into the narrow alley. The city felt different now, or maybe we were different. Everything seemed brighter, more vivid, more alive. We walked hand in hand back to our hotel, stopping occasionally just to kiss again, unable to keep our hands off each other now that we'd finally allowed ourselves to touch. Old Nice was coming alive for the evening. Restaurants setting tables, musicians warming up, the energy of a Mediterranean summer night building. Back in our room, we ordered room service, pizza and salad and a bottle of local wine, and ate on our little balcony while the city sparkled below us and the sea whispered in the distance. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Everything important had already been said. When we finally went to bed, Mariana fit herself against me like she'd been designed to be there, her back to my chest, my arm around her waist, our breathing synchronizing as we drifted towards sleep. Peter? Her voice came softly in the darkness. Yeah, this was the best day of my life. I kissed the back of her neck. Mine too. Where do we go from here? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Anywhere. Everywhere. As long as it's with you. Italy, I suggested. We could take a train along the coast. Genoa, maybe, or straight to Venice. Venice, she said decisively. I've always wanted to see Venice, and now I want to see it with you. Venice it is. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Peter, we're really doing this, aren't we? We're really together now. If you'll have me, yes, we're really together. I'll have you, she whispered. I definitely will have you. I fell asleep smiling, feeling like I'd finally found what I'd been searching for since leaving Chicago. Not just freedom or adventure or escape from my old life. I'd found connection. I'd found someone who understood me, who made me want to be better, who made me feel fully alive. I'd found Mariana. The next morning, we woke up tangled together, sunlight streaming through the windows, and the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was her face on the pillow next to mine, peaceful in sleep. And I thought, this is what happiness looks like. We spent 2 more days in Nice, making the most of the city. We visited the Matisse Museum, where Mariana gave me an impromptu lecture on Fauvism that made the paintings come alive. We hiked up to the chateau ruins for the view. We ate more sake and drank more rose. We went back to the secret garden twice more, finding the green door in the alley like old friends returning to a favorite spot. Each time, we sat on that same stone bench facing the sea and kissed as the sun set over the Mediterranean, and felt like we discovered something that belonged only to us. On our last evening in Nice, as we were packing for the next day's train to Italy, Mariana came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her cheek against my back. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For being patient, for waiting until it was perfect, for finding that garden with me, for being exactly who you are." I turned in her arms and pulled her close. "Thank you for quitting your job and flying to Paris, for being brave enough to take a chance on someone you barely knew, for that first kiss that changed everything." She stood on her toes and kissed me softly. "The first of many." "The first of many," I agreed. That night, we lay in bed not sleeping, just talking and laughing and kissing, both of us too excited about what came next to want to waste time on sleep. We made plans and unmade them. We talked about Venice, about what we'd see there. We talked about after Venice, maybe the Amalfi Coast, maybe Slovenia, maybe we'd just wander and see where we ended up. "I want to meet your family someday," Mariana said. "Your parents, your siblings if you have them. I want to see where you grew up, see Chicago through your eyes. I want that too. And I want to meet your family in Sao Paulo, see Brazil, understand where you came from. Someday," she promised. "When we're ready." "When we're ready," I agreed. As dawn began to lighten the sky, we finally started to drift off. But before sleep took me completely, I thought about that secret garden overlooking the Mediterranean, about the perfect moment when everything changed, about how sometimes you have to travel thousands of miles and risk everything you knew to find what you were really looking for. I'd left Chicago looking for freedom. I found so much more than that. I'd found purpose and meaning and connection. I'd found a woman who made me want to be brave, who inspired me to be honest, who loved me for who I was rather than who I was supposed to be. In that hidden garden in Nice, with jasmine and lavender and the sea stretching to infinity, I'd found my home. Not a place, but a person. And that changed everything. The next morning, we caught a train to Italy, beginning the next chapter of our adventure. But Nice would always hold a special place in our story. The city where we finally stopped pretending, where we finally admitted what we both knew from the beginning, where we found a secret garden and each other. As the train pulled out of the station and Nice disappeared behind us, Mariana leaned against me and sighed contentedly. "Italy awaits," she said. "Yes, it does. Are you ready for more adventures?" I kissed the top of her head. "With you, I'm ready for anything." And I meant it. Whatever came next. Whether it was beautiful or difficult, expected or surprising, easy or challenging, we'd face it together. That's what mattered. Not the destination, but the person beside you for the journey. Nice had given us the perfect beginning. Now it was time to see where the story would go.